Bronny James is going to be the most watched and anticipated player that we have ever seen come out of the second round in NBA history. Now, we have had players play with their fathers and fathers play with their sons, vice versa, throughout multiple sports, but we have never seen it to this magnitude. LeBron James, arguably the greatest player in NBA history, will now have the chance to play with his son, not in his prime, but still playing at a near elite level in the NBA for arguably the most historic franchise in the league's history. How is Bronny James going to perform this season, and what have we got from the Summer League? I'm going to give you guys my analysis on how I think Bronny James is going to develop as a player this season and going forward throughout his career. Now, the case of Bronny James is one of the more interesting within the past few years, and I think it'll go down as one of the most interesting in NBA history, no matter how he plays, whether he becomes an all-NBA talent or he's out of the league within one season. When we look back in history, this will be one of the most interesting cases that we have ever seen. And, like I mentioned before, obviously he is playing as LeBron James' son, one of the best players that we have ever seen in NBA history, and playing on the same team as him nonetheless. But for a guy that many said shouldn't have been drafted, some also said, oh, maybe he should have been drafted in the first round by another team so he wouldn't have gone to the Lakers. It would have just been interesting. And many also saying this draft class was very weak, and some saying Bronny shouldn't have been drafted because he should have stayed. There's a lot of different mixed opinions that are going around the league right now, and throughout his first few games in the Summer League, many could easily point to those performances and say, oh, I told you he should not have joined the NBA, he should not have entered his name into the draft, and he should have stayed at college. But then he picked it up towards the end of the Summer League and started to put up some good performances next to guys like Dalton Knecht, who he's going to play aside this year, another rookie who was drafted in the first round by the Lakers this season. But overall, like we've seen in the past, last year Victor Wembanyama was not that great to start in the Summer League at the beginning of the Summer League, but then obviously we saw how he performed last season in the NBA, and I bet 95% of people who said, oh, he's not going to turn up to become this great player because of his Summer League performances last year, completely forgot they even said that by the end of last season. And no, I'm not going to say Bronny is going to become Victor Wembanyama, but I'm also saying that these Summer League games don't really define who you're going to become as a player overall. So, whether you play very well or whether you don't play as well, we've seen guys like Kevin Knox go out there and perform on a high level, and we all know how Kevin Knox's career has gone, Mr. Fortnite Jacket himself. But what I am going to say is that I do think Bronny has some good traits that he can bring to this Lakers team. And it seems like he's not going to be in the G League, as he has a fully guaranteed contract as the 55th pick in the NBA, which some of the time these players don't even get picked up on the team if the team is just drafting them just to draft them because they have multiple second round picks. Most of the time they do get two-way contracts though, but Bronny in a very interesting spot as he does have one of the best, if not the best, sports agent on his side, so it did work out well for him in that sense. Now, to get an idea of what the expectations are for Bronny, outside of all the bias and narratives, let's just look at what the second round pick, the 55th overall pick in the NBA draft, has done within the past 16, 17 years. I'm going to say 16 years just because I do want to bring in Patty Mills from 2009, which obviously he's kind of an outlier when looking at the rest of these guys. But going through these guys since then on your screen right now, between Bronny James and Patty Mills from 16 years ago, if you guys remember some of these guys or even know half of these guys, I would say you have elite ball knowledge. Within the past few years, obviously some of these guys are still in the league. Isaiah Wong last year selected with the second round 55th overall pick. Aaron Wiggins as well, and guys like Kyle Guy, who was alright, but the rest of these guys, most of these guys already out of the NBA within a few seasons of being drafted. Some of these guys not even making it to the NBA. And this just goes to show that a second round pick, if this was not connected to LeBron James, if this was not Bronny James and didn't have the hype, if it was a Lakers pick, it would still be hyped up a little bit just because, like I said, they have one of the most loyal fan bases. But overall, if this was not Bronny James, I don't think very many people would care about this pick overall right here. And on the Lakers themselves, who knows if they would have even got a fully guaranteed contract. Probably would have got a two-way contract to start off anyway. But Bronny's going to have a 4-year guaranteed contract. So we'll have to see if he makes it all the way through that 4-year contract on the Lakers specifically. But I do think, compared to a lot of these guys, I think Bronny will be able to bring something to the NBA, as if we watch some of his games in the Summer League towards the end, he starts to build up that confidence. He's able to become a great pace guy, especially defensively, and if he's coming in these third and second rotations, he's coming in, he's not going to be going up against the best players in the league coming off the bench as the 11th or 12th guy. Maybe he'll go in there and get some garbage time minutes. We don't exactly know how many minutes we're expecting to see him get to start the season, if any. I would kind of be shocked if he plays in the first game of the season, if I'm being honest at this point, just because I think he's still pretty far behind a guy like Dalton Knecht, who's already going to be a great NBA talent level guy because he played so good in college. He's a little bit older too, so he already has that leg up, and I think he's going to get more minutes than Bronny to start off. I don't think that's really a hot take at all, but it'll be interesting to see how many minutes Bronny does get towards the middle of the season, if he does get any in the first place. It's not like he's guaranteed to play either. He may not even play at all in this first season. He may only go in when they're up by a lot or maybe down by a lot and they want to empty the benches. We really don't know. But he can bring that defense, which when we've seen a bunch of players within the past few years, a lot of guys that keep their spot in the league keep their spot because they're so good defensively and they have a high basketball IQ. And I think that is one thing that Bronny can bring to the table. Obviously that IQ, just talking to his father about basketball, I'm sure the conversation that they've had together, and having a guy like JJ Redick, I think he's going to be very patient with Bronny too. If he went to another team, I think he may have had a worse off time, just because I don't think a team would have been as patient with a guy like Bronny as the Lakers will, just because it seems like they kind of have to with LeBron there as well. Let me know what you guys think of Bronny and how he's going to produce in his first season in the NBA. I don't think he's going to be out there competing for Rookie of the Year, but I'm most interested to see how many minutes he's going to be playing for the Lakers this season, because their team isn't entirely set. I mean, when we look at a lot of these players in the Lakers, I think there's a lot of room for Bronny to go out there and maybe carve his minutes in, but I am interested to see how he plays by, let's say, halfway through the season, by that trade deadline. Not necessarily because he's going to get traded, but I'm just interested to see if maybe he will get sent down to the G League at some point, or if they are committed to having him go in there and actually becoming a player and a role player, a bench player on this team, trying to compete for a championship within these next few years. So let me know down below how you guys think he's going to do, and I'll see you guys in the next one.